back to back two massive gap open on DXY, combining with two significant longer bearish engulfer with crossover of both 10 and 20 EMA. DXY is showing that long-term trend change. That means it still may continue to the downtrend. So as this is the daily chart, if we look at the intraday perspective here, guys, we can see that the market is maintaining a sharp downtrending market structure. And as there is a new monthly candle coming up, we can see that this market is strongly falling and there isn't any significant support level in that area. So there is a massive fair value gap. And what I think long-term picture, DXY might drop a lot in the downside here. So in that drop, as NFP coming up, let's see how we can find potential trading opportunity from an important area of value from technical as well as fundamental perspective. In this weekly Forex forecast, traders, I'm going to look at DXY, British Pound US Dollar, NZD USD, AUD USD, Euro Dollar, Dollar CAD, XAU USD, GBP JPY, and Dollar Yen. I'm going to do a complete multi-time frame analysis and to see throughout the week where we can find trading opportunity. Now, before I progress further, traders, make sure that you give a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. So with that being said, let's begin with, first of all, DXY, looking at higher time frame. Looking at monthly as usual, as monthly, weekly and daily higher time frame will give us clear direction, removing all the noise from the lower time frame. Now this monthly candle is closing in just a matter of 1.5 days. That means tomorrow is the last day of this monthly candle. And so far it's showing that a strongly bearish market. Starting from this point, from this top here, there isn't any green candle formation, which is a strongly falling market. And with that kind of market, it is less likely to be bullish because it's a highly falling market and it's a higher time frame. Before it forming any kind of consolidation or doji, less likely that DXY to be strongly bullish. Therefore, from the bigger picture perspective, we can look for potential selling. Now there is a double bottom here. If you look at when this market started to bounce from this level, that we can see made its big move to the upside, followed by we saw that there was a long sideways movement. And as this market currently has broken this support level from the monthly time frame, we could see highly likely this market to come back here, which is a smart money zone, which is the previous resistance, turn support here. And so therefore there is a big room here for this market to expand towards the downside here. Therefore, highly likely we could see that DXY to potentially come back to this monthly order block, which is the previous resistance. And there is a narrow doji here, which is a high liquidity zone. And there is a big room here from the monthly for this market to expand towards the downside here. If we look at the weekly perspective on DXY, we can see that from the weekly time frame, this is the weekly bearish engulfer formation on DXY. Now, if we look at the, first of all, the market structure, which is the key to understand the directional bias, we can see that there is a head and shoulder formation here. And with that head and shoulder, the market has made its move, followed by this pullback, and was making series of lower high and lower low, which is a typical downtrending market structure. Now, in that downtrend, what we have seen that in this market here, this is where the key level of resistance from the weekly time frame, and in that key level, what we have seen, the market has crossed this high, grabbed that liquidity, and then strongly has created this bearish engulfer from the weekly. Now, if we look at the high of this weekly candle, we can see the market has crossed this top completely to the upside, grab that liquidity and form this bearish engulfer from the weekly perspective, which is showing that we may see potentially a couple of bearish candle in that direction from the lower time frame on weekly perspective on DXY. Now, looking at the daily chart on DXY, we can see that from the daily time frame, this is the daily price action where there is a long bearish engulfer on the daily, which is significant bearish. The prices cross both 10 and 20 EMA, and in this daily time frame, we can see the market structure a little clearly. We saw that there are two massive gap open on the daily on DXY, and with these two gap open, the market was maintaining that series of lower high here, which where the price, after maintaining back to back two series of lower high, the market has created this very important support level. This is a swing low here, which is the support, and we saw that bounce from this swing low, created this swing high, and the market has broken that swing low currently with a single impulse on the daily. And if we look at this swing high here, also it's a stronger liquidity grab from this key level of resistance from this long bearish engulfer. And this is a strongly falling market every single day. The market was maintaining that series of lower high here. Now, this daily candlestick pattern that you can see still maintaining that series of lower high. And what I think that the market may try to push back up for a deeper pullback. And above this daily doji is where there is a high liquidity, which is support level and turning resistance here. As soon as the market managed to break that high here, we can expect this market to trend back down here to create a new lower low in this market. So looking at the 4-hour chart here from the intraday time frame on DXY, what we can see that this market in this lower time frame, there was a crossover of 10 and 20 EMA. The market opened with a gap, has gone up for a pullback, and we see another drop, pullback to the upside, and where we can see the market has crossed all this high, and then from that level the price has potentially, if you closely look at this intraday candlestick pattern here, it's a bearish price action. The price has crossed quite a few sessions high and then form a long bearish engulfer. Therefore, in that area, as this is in a sideways movement, but I think that the market may try to push back up further for another liquidity grab with the market open or with the monthly close and new opening. That can give potentially an entry opportunity on DXY. This is the swing low, which is turning swing high here, which is the support down resistance, giving a high probability for DXY to make a move towards the downside. So this is where, as soon as we find suitable entry, we can look for potential selling opportunity, and I think DXY may maintain this bearish market structure for an extended period of time. And based on DXY, we can look at USD pairs, as most of them will be just mirror of that. Now, looking at, first of all, British pound US dollar, again looking at the bigger picture here, looking at the monthly on British pound US dollar, we can see that this is the monthly price action on GBPUSD, which in fact showing a stronger bullish impulse here on the monthly. And with this monthly bullish impulse on GBPUSD, this is the previous monthly doji, which is the previous resistance turning support here. And as this is an impulsive move to the upside, we can expect now a deeper pullback, testing the previous resistance as a support, and then to revert back again to the upside here. Now, if we look at the weekly perspective on British pound US dollar, we can see that from the weekly, this is a bullish market structure here. From here, we saw that there was a stronger impulse followed by this pullback here, and we can see that another impulse followed by deeper pullback in this market. So this is the weekly candlestick pattern formation, which in fact has grown as a stronger bullish engulfer, which may continue to rise here as this bullish engulfer has crossed all this low here and closed as a full body green with a full bullish impulse. Therefore, British pound US dollar from the weekly may remain bullish here as well. Now, if we look at the daily chart here, from the daily, we can see also that this is bull market. Here is the market from this support level, made this stronger impulse, and in the last day of trading week we saw a very narrow doji, and the price has formed a double bottom here, created this impulse, expecting that this market to come down for a pullback to retest this previous resistance as a support here, and then to return back again to the major direction of the trend. So from the 4-hour chart here on British pound US dollar, we can see that from this intraday time frame, this is where there is an impulse here, followed by this pullback, and you can see another impulse followed by deeper pullback in that area on GBPUSD. And in that market, what we can expect that this market to potentially, what I think that we may see that short-term pullback, as after this crossover of 10 and 20 EMA, we can see the market just reach that 20 EMA and then has got initial rejection here in this market, expecting initial pullback and then to continue to the major direction of the trend in this market. So on GBPUSD, this could be the potential wave for the upcoming week. And now let's look at NZD USD. Now we see that other than GBPUSD, NZD USD showing little bearish move. It has crossed this 20 EMA and then closed above with a long wick at the bottom from the intraday time frame. So looking at the bigger picture, again monthly, we can see that this market as well maintaining that bullish market structure, from the monthly showing a stronger bullish move. If we look at the weekly chart here, we can see that from the weekly also showing that it's a bull market. The market has crossed this 20 EMA and then closed as a stronger bullish engulfer with a big momentum here on NZD USD, showing that probability for this market to potentially continue to the upside to the major direction of the trend. Now, if we look at the daily chart here on NZD USD, we can see that from the daily time frame, this is a key level of daily support here, where there is a bigger impulse followed by last day of trading week from a narrow doji. And with that narrow doji, what I think the market may form an inverted head and shoulder here, and then to revert back again in the major direction of the trend. Now looking at the 4-hour chart here on NZD USD, we can see that in this lower time frame, this is where there is an impulse here followed by a pullback and sideways movement, and we can see another impulse pullback. The market grabbed the liquidity here, so therefore we could see that the market either respecting this support level or even breaking below to create another potential impulsive move to the upside, and NZD USD may create this impulse to the upside with this wave, and we can expect a potential higher high in this market to continue to the uptrend. Now let's look at AUD USD. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity it may form. Now again, looking at monthly chart, we can see that AUD USD as well showing a strong bull market. Starting from here, we saw this is the monthly impulse back to the upside with a monthly doji formation on AUD USD, followed by a monthly bullish candle, which is in fact showing a stronger monthly trend continuation to the upside in this market. Therefore, this month, as the candle is closing in a matter of day, expecting a pullback and then to rejection back to the upside in this market. So looking at the weekly chart here on AUD USD, we can see that from the weekly time frame, this is weekly bull market, and with that weekly bull market, we can see from here this is an impulsive move to the upside followed by this pullback, and we can see it's in a sideways market. And last day of trading week, we saw an impulse to the upside that has created a bullish engulfer from the weekly time frame, and expecting that this market to continue to trend to the upside to create a new higher high. Now looking at the daily chart here, like the NZD USD, we may see a potential inverted head and shoulder with this red candle, with this green candle. We might see that completion of that inverted head and shoulder to see potential and uptrending market structure. And after this long consolidation, a break of structure, inverted head and shoulder is a probability for AUD/USD for long-term uptrend, and we might see this market to continue back to this order block here. So if we look at the intraday time frame to see how AUD/USD might do, you can see that this market also showing that stronger bullish impulse. This is a bullish impulse followed by this sideways market, another impulse sideways, and the price has crossed that low, tested this previous resistance, which is turning support here, and with a long wick candle on AUD/USD has formed a bullish, potential bullish continuation pattern, and any pullback in this market is where we can look for potential entry opportunity on AUD/USD. Now let's look at euro dollar. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we might see. As we can see that in all the instrument on AUD/USD as well as British pound US dollar, euro dollar as well showing that bullish market structure from the monthly. Previous monthly candle form a doji with a long wick rejection from the support level. And if we look at this monthly trend here, we can see that from here pretty sharp bounce followed by this pullback, and we can see another monthly impulse here on euro dollar, and that might lead that price potentially back to the upside. And these are some of the key levels that we might see that the monthly price to go ahead and hit or create a new higher high from those levels. Now if we look at the weekly chart here on euro dollar, we can see a very sharp uptrending market structure starting from this series of higher low here with a consolidation pattern on euro dollar. We can see the market has made its move to the upside followed by this pullback here, and we can see another move followed by deeper pullback to this weekly 20 EMA. And with that move, what we can see that from the weekly that this market has made its significant move back to the upside, and where we can see there is a narrow doji formation with a weekly bullish engulfer. The market has crossed that high and closed above this level from the weekly. Now if we look at the daily chart here on euro dollar, we can see that from the daily, this is the daily bullish engulfer. The price has crossed both 10 and 20 EMA and then closed above as a bullish engulfer with this momentum. And what we can expect now, euro dollar, what I think the price is to test this daily support level, which may give a significant trading opportunity on the lower time frame on euro dollar. Now with that being said, expecting euro dollar to break any of this important support level and then to give us potential entry opportunity in this market. So this is where that could be a very important level that we can look for on euro dollar for potential entry in this market. Now let's look at dollar CAD, and then we will be looking also XAUSD. Guys, make sure that you stick till the end to know all the pairs that we will be looking next week for potential trading opportunity. So looking at dollar CAD, we can see that dollar CAD as it is now on the 5th month, it's a sharply falling market from this resistance line here, and with that sharply drop here on dollar CAD, expecting that this market to come back here to this support level, which is an important support here on dollar CAD. And with that support, which is a very important key level of support, expecting dollar CAD to come back here to retest and then to reject back again to the upside. Now looking at the weekly chart here on dollar CAD, we can see that from the weekly time frame, this is the weekly price action where the market was maintaining that typical bearish market structure, a stronger impulse followed by this pullback, and we can see another impulse pullback, another impulse pullback. It is in another potential impulsive phase from the weekly, therefore expecting that this market to trend back down here in the major direction. Now looking at daily chart here on dollar CAD, we can see that from the daily time frame, this is the daily price action where there is a daily impulse followed by this drop here, and last day of trading week we saw pretty sharp long wick candle on the daily, and with that long wick candle last day of trading week we saw the market has crossed this dodges high here, which is a very key level of resistance, and with that dodges high the market has formed a very sharp long wick candle. The price has closed back below 10 EMA, so therefore there is a selling pressure in that area, and in that zone expecting the dollar CAD to remain bearish here to this support level from the intraday perspective. If we look at the 4-hour chart here, we can see a long doji, and that doji, what I think the price may go up for initial pullback and then to potentially continue to the downtrending market structure here. So this could be the potential wave for dollar CAD in the upcoming week. Initial pullback and then continuation to the major direction of the trend. Now let's see that on XAU USD how the gold might behave in the upcoming week. Now looking at the monthly, as we see we are almost at the end of the month, and from the monthly the price has crossed this monthly high here where the price reached that key level and has got a sharp rejection here from the monthly with a bigger impulse in that direction, and this monthly price action on XAUUSD showing that the price may potentially reject back here to the support level, and as this price already below the monthly low and the price has tested the high of this previous monthly doji, but I think that this market may potentially come down for a deeper pullback here, as in this area there is still an imbalance. The market has left and didn't test this previous monthly doji, the lower shadow of this market. Now if we look at the weekly chart here, we can see that from the weekly after cross of this high back to back 2 weeks, the market has formed two bearish engulfer. Now this is the last week's candle that we can see the price close to it long wick on both sides, and which is sharply a bear market, and as this market is a falling market, expecting that this market to retest this support as a resistance and then to reject back again to this support level. Now if we look at the longer term picture from the weekly, we can see that whenever the market was testing this 20 EMA in that area, it was getting that rejection, and the price currently closed back below 10 EMA, and therefore we may see that this market to come down here to this weekly 20 EMA and then to reject back again to the upside to create a potentially higher high. So therefore this week as well, what I think the price may remain bearish here. Now looking at the daily chart here on XAUUSD, we can see that from the daily time frame, this is the daily price action where there is a liquidity grab from a bearish engulfer and followed by quite a few long wick candle, and we see back to back 3 daily dojis, and this is the starting of a stronger liquidity grab after crossing 2-3 daily dojis high. The market has closed as a bearish doji, and followed by last day of trading week we saw a bearish engulfer on the daily time frame with a long wick at the bottom. So what I think that this week, as the candle closed below the weekly support level, we may see that initial retest and then to return potentially back in the direction of the trend here, as this is the previous swing low here and the market is on a falling market with a multiple liquidity grab. We might see that this market to potentially continue to drop here. Now looking at the intraday time frame from the 4-hour chart here, that we can see that this market is also showing typical downtrending market structure, starting from this level, followed by a bearish channel, pull back to the upside, another drop, and we can see again another retest, and the market again trending with a stronger momentum here in this direction. So if we look at the 4-hour chart here, where this is the market, and this is a narrow green doji after this big drop, what I think that this week, as there is a new weekly opening, we might see that initial pullback, and as the market was maintaining that series of lower high, expecting that the market to move up for a deeper pullback and then to continue to the major direction of the trend. So looking at the 1-hour chart, where we can see a very typical downtrending market structure, a drop, pullback to 20 EMA, and drop. In that drop, still the market didn't test this 20 EMA yet, as we see that here forming a couple of long wick at the bottom. So therefore, in the beginning of the week, we might see that initial pullback to this 20 EMA, and then to trend back down here to create a new lower low in this market. So this is where lower time frame price action on XAUUSD, as soon as we will find suitable entry, we will be looking to sell with a high probability trade setup. Traders, if you're enjoying this education and analysis, make sure you give a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. So now let's look at yen pairs, looking at GBP, JPY, looking at monthly chart to see overall picture in this market. So we can see that GBP, JPY, if we look at the historical perspective, we can see that it's a historically bull market. Here is a long week rejection from this support level on GJ with a long week candle formation, followed by, we can see that after this monthly long week, there's another monthly bullish engulfer formation. Now this current monthly candle showing a stronger bullish impulse back to the upside. We might see that this market to continue to rise here to create a new higher high. If we look at the weekly chart here on GBP, JPY, we can see that from the weekly, this is where there is a weekly impulse followed by this pullback, and we can see another weekly doji followed by back-to-back 2 weeks. The market is showing that weekly impulsive move to the upside, and expecting that this market to continue to upside. And I think the market for long term could continue to rise here to create a new higher high. If we look at the daily chart here on GJ, we can see that from the daily, this is where the market is maintaining that bullish market structure, starting from here, an impulse followed by this correction, and we can see that it is in another impulsive phase. The last day of trading week on GJ has formed this long week candle, and what I think that this week we might see that GJ coming for a pullback and then to continue to rise here to create a new higher high here. So looking at the 4-hour chart or the intraday time frame here on from the intraday GJ, we can see that after this crossover, the price never tested this 20 EMA. It was respecting this 10 EMA, and as soon as the market has tested that 20 EMA, we can see that rejection back to the upside, which is showing that we may see now a potential impulse back to the upside. So on GJ, with the market open, we might be opening a position in that area after price action confirmation for a potential upside here on GBP JPY. Now let's look at the dollar yen. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have in this instrument. Looking at monthly chart on dollar yen, we can see that from the monthly dollar yen back to back, almost nearly we are ending to the month, back to back 2 monthly long week in this market with a stronger bearish move followed by 2 monthly long week candle formation on dollar yen, giving a probability for this market to potentially slide back down here to create a new lower low. If we look at the weekly chart here, we can see that from the weekly time frame, this is the weekly price action where a doji back to back, a drop, pull back to the 20 EMA, another drop, pull back to the 20 EMA. So the market is respecting this 20 EMA multiple times from the weekly, and expecting that after initial pullback for this market to return back again in the direction of the trend here. So looking at daily chart here on dollar yen, we can see that from the daily time frame, where there is a daily rejection with a long wick doji followed by daily pullback, and last day of trading week we saw a long bearish engulfer with a long wick at the bottom with a very narrow candle formation on dollar yen, and expecting that this market to potentially pull back here and then to return back again in the major direction of the trend. So looking at the 4-hour chart here on dollar yen, we can see that in this lower time frame it is maintaining that bearish market structure. We can see from here pretty sharp drop followed by this pullback, another drop, pullback, and expecting another wave of drop with the market open for creating new lower low to this support level. So therefore dollar yen as well, we will be looking for potential selling opportunity, and these two instruments might give us early market open trade for this potential drop in this direction. Traders, I hope that you enjoyed this education and analysis. If you enjoyed, make sure you give a thumbs up here and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. Thank you, and I'll see you soon in my next analysis.